This afternoon, I'm not here as a scholar or a scientist or whatever. I'm just here as a Bhutanese layman. Therefore, I'll be telling you a lot of stories because I love telling stories. And as already shown there, I'll be delivering a brief talk on local beliefs as intangible assets for environmental conservation. I hope I get this. Okay. So basically a brief background, and I'll briefly touch on some of the local beliefs, the prominent ones that contribute to environmental conservation, and I'll wind up my talk with a short conclusion. Now, as you all know, Bhutan has always been a mystical land. When I was a child, I was taught that we don't live on this earth or in our villages or in our homes just alone, or with the biota, that is the flora and the fauna that we see around us. But we also share the world with supernaturals, and as well as the elusive beings, which I'll talk on more later. Now, such beliefs and norms over the years have become deeply ingrained as our local traditions, and we value them a lot even to this day, especially in the rural areas, if not in urban areas. And this is basically because Bhutan has always been an oral society. We tell stories and we remember norms, beliefs, traditions, cultures, pass them on from one generation to the next through oral traditions, and then they become our own traditions. And we are, most of us live these beliefs. I say live these beliefs and norms even to this day. And I believe that these narratives actually contribute to environmental conservation directly or indirectly, and therefore I'll try to justify in my own way, in a layman's term, that they are invaluable assets to environmental conservation. Now, if environmentalists, policymakers, managers, or politicians for that case, are to frame culturally relevant and sustainable environmental conservation policies and programs, then they must be aware and respect these beliefs and norms and narratives. I'll touch on this, but I'm not an anthropologist. Therefore, I will not delve into its etiology. That's the origin and cause of these beliefs. Again, ever since I was a child, now I means a lot of the Bhutanese of my age and those older than me, ever since I was a child, I was taught, that the wisdom of living in harmony in nature was deeply ingrained into me by my elders, the illiterate relatives, and neighbors, friends. Therefore, I always felt closer to the nature. This is why back in my village in kurtoep, nature is closest to people's hearts. So using my past friends, a presenter's term, people's minds. Of course, as you all know, a lot has changed especially during the last 2 decades or so. I will not dwell on that because this is a completely different story. So therefore, I'll just share with you some of the most prominent beliefs that I believe contribute to environmental conservation. First narrative, plants have souls too. That's what our elders used to tell us. Now, do plants have souls? Scientists started asking these questions only recently. But we Bhutanese we heard one of the presenters, plants trying to communicate with each other, right? These are indications that plants have souls. And I, after all these academic degrees, especially me being from a science background, I believe that plants have souls, and I'm happy with that belief. And then there are folktales. One story says that, two lovers couldn't fulfill their love, they die, then they are reborn as two pairs of trees. One tree dies, the other tree automatically dies, of course, and then they are reborn as, conveniently, a male and a female cattle. They die, and then ultimately they are reborn as lovers. And then they live happily ever after. Now, such folktales really reinforce the belief that plants have souls. Therefore, our elders would say, do not cut down trees unnecessarily. It's a sin. Besides, above that, they would say, do not cut down especially young trees and bamboos. It's more sinful. And look at the scientific reasons behind. And these trees are useful, bamboos are useful. It was when I was a teenager that my parents, and grandparents' back home had zinc sheets, CGI sheets. We used to use shinglings, and bamboo mats as roofs. So you can understand, the importance. This is how our parents used to inculcate the importance of, other living beings like plants, animals. I'll come to the animals later, into our hearts and minds. So such beliefs are profound beliefs, which translates to basically mutual, living, coexisting together in a mutually beneficial way, the plants and us, the humans. And then setting a forest or a grassland on fire is supposed to accrue the biggest sin. It's the biggest sin one can ever commit, because if you do that, when you leave this world, you will end up in Vajra hell, Dorjingewa. You'll go to Dorjingewa. So people would refrain from setting forest fires. So during our times, as much as possible, at least in my village, because I was born in a Gemba, forest fires were rare, That contributed to, of course, environmental conservation. Yes. Oh, sorry. And then animals, how we treat animals. Our parents would say, do not address yetis, tigers, elephants, bears, and wolves as such. They will know that we are talking about them and they will visit us. So what we used to do, an elephant was a grandfather Buddha to us, Meymey Sangay. The tiger was a king to us, Pon or Pen. The bear was uncle. We never used to address a bear. It's Azha, Azha. A rhino was Norb Sili, the precious rhino. And the wolves, the naughty wolves who used to harm our cattle, they were labmam or, multi-armed ones. And what about the yeti, who questioned its existence, was just Meymey, okay, with reverence. This shows what kind of reverence village folks have towards animals. It made us feel closer to them, as if they were our relatives. And this only shows, these narratives only equates to live and let live. And people have been questioning the existence of yeti. I say, leave our yeti alone. It has done nothing to you, okay? Because as far as I know, my grand-uncle sighted a yeti in Sengizong in 1950s. I myself heard a yeti's cry in the early 1970s. A couple of years ago, when I went back home, I asked my relatives, do you still hear that call? They say no. Maybe it is dead, but it was there, all right? So leave our yeti alone. And then our parents, elders used to say, respect the mountains, lakes, gorges, even cliffs, for there are supernatural beings residing in them or protecting them. And we have so many sacred mountains like the Gangkat Pinsum and all this, okay? Please give me 1 minute. Okay. This is why we have what we call ladam, the practice of ladam, closure of the past, you know. Like in my village, from the 15th day of the third month to the 15th day of the fourth month of lunar calendar, the mountainous area we call Binakar is closed for trespassing to all humans, because it's believed that the guardian deity whom we call Meymey Jolama or Pension Jolama is supposed to be in retreat. He's supposed to be meditating, okay? And look at the logic. These months are the growing periods for plants, right? Plants. And then the local narrative prevents people from entering the forests and the mountains during such periods so that they are conserved. They can grow to their potential. And then we have the sacred lakes all over Bhutan. Most of our lakes are considered sacred. I won't name them because you know most of them, right? And then even pieces of rocks. For instance, in Bhutan, almost all rocks are sacred sites, okay? So all of them are supposed to be residents or are supposed to be protected by supernatural beings like Lu, Du, Chen, Napod, you know, Terda, Draxin, and all this. I won't translate them because my time is up, okay? So, that's just 1 second because there won't be much questions, I guess. So because this everybody knows, but it's important to emphasize, all right? And other important narratives are elephants are Buddhas, right? Rhinos are precious. Fishing during certain period, that's spawning period, is very sinful. Consumption of honey is a great sin. Even Lord Buddha didn't consume honey, okay? Big colonies of hornet are protected by big black serpents so that it is not hunted. The sin committed by killing a raven or crow is equivalent to that of killing a monk. Takin was made by Lam Dupakila. You know, look at these narratives. So if we are to frame culturally relevant and sustainable environmental conservation policies and programs, even if you are a rational man and if you don't believe, at least respect and take them into consideration. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking extra time.